Hey, welcome to Sam Outside. I'm Sam and I'm outside enjoying some time in nature because it affects my overall well-being. All right, so the research is out there and the studies show, and I'm a advocate and firm believer that time outside is linked to physical, mental, emotional health, spiritual health, maybe even some financial health as well, as it relates to my longevity. All right, making small changes to my life, choices around my health are helping benefit other aspects of my life. So does spending time outside make me a better husband? Gets me out of the house. No, seriously though, it does benefit my health, and that health does help my commitment physically, mentally, emotionally, providing focus, better sleep, overall being, calmness, cortisol management, and all these things make me a more tolerable human being. Just gonna ask my family. All right, it makes me a better husband. Yeah, the time I spend outside, it's part of our life as a family. So yeah, I'd like to think that the role modeling and sharing of nature and nature connection, nature healing, not only that promotion, but the active choices we make with our time outdoors is creating healthier, happier, more successful human beings and my children, stewards of this land when I'm no longer here. Makes me a better employee because I am fortunate enough to work outdoors as a director in camping and outdoor education. I'm also an arborist, do that on the side, have my own company. I'm also a certified forest therapy guide, so I don't take a lot of days off. I'm always doing something. All right, if I'm not working for someone else, I'm working for myself. And I have found that intentional time in nature has benefited my health. And it's that intentionality of spending time outside that is the difference. As someone who's worked outside their entire life, I didn't really notice how that was affecting me because I had some days where I had to work in the office. Yeah, I wasn't the same happy, shiny person than if I was outside working with groups, working in trees, working on the trail, right? So it did affect my mood, and that, of course, that affected other aspects of my bodily functions, right? So I know that time outdoors does help the mind, which helps the spirit, helps digestion, improves sleep, focus, creativity, problem solving, coping, calm, right? It releases endorphins, releases serotonin, releases dopamine, oxytocin. So all of those happy chemicals promoted while also reducing the cortisol production, cortisol management. Those are huge factors. So the changes I've made with intentional time outdoors, focusing on breath work, focusing on mindfulness, focusing on how I walk, what I'm walking in, all those small changes, that is where I'm starting to notice the health benefits. It's not the number of steps, it's the quality of steps, right? So it's not, walking outside, along the road, which would be easier, sidewalk, walking in nature on mixed terrain through a mixed forest has added benefits. So all of these small changes, do this while you're outside, do this while you're on a walk, do this while you're on a walk, those additional 1%, 2%, 3%, those 1% changes I'm adding are increasing the benefits of my time outside exponentially. And I've been trying to share some of those small additions to my intentional time outside through this format. But ultimately, it leads to my longevity. Because I'll be honest, I didn't think I'd live this long. Nope. I've had so many close calls. I've been in a number of vehicle accidents where there were fatalities, written off a few vehicles. I carry an EpiPen now because I was stung so many times that I was in the hospital for 3 days. And now the next bee might be the thing that ends my life. I've had so many wildlife encounters where, yeah, I shouldn't have walked away from that. I've had so many near misses as an arborist with wood that didn't go the way I wanted it to. Could have been a statistic there. Doing utility work, if you're familiar with the industry, yeah, I've been poked, right? 40 kilovolts, right? Sends you to the hospital. Been poked more than once. So I've turned a tipping point in my life, right? I've got more years behind me than I do ahead. So that changes the scope, puts things into perspective. Spending time in nature, intentional time in nature, allows for that scale, allows for that proportion of how short-lived human life is. And then when you compare it to the life, the capacity for life in nature, it just puts it all into perspective. So that's the difference between just being outdoors and doing it mindfully and intentionally. It really does frame how I see myself in the world, how I see myself in relation to all the things I am so grateful for having done. The person that I am, because of the different versions of me that I have been, that I was. I didn't think I'd, there were several points in my life where I didn't think I'd make it to this age. And the fact that I'm even here, I'm so grateful for that. So while making small adjustments to my diet, to my sleep, to the time I spend outdoors, to how I treat myself, how I treat others around me, it's all at this point in my life, yeah, I'm not afraid of death. No, I know people say that, but honestly, I've had a couple conversations with even total strangers at a bar. I've led a good life. I've got very few regrets. I've had many opportunities for learning, but all the regrets have steered my life path in this direction, and I'm happy for it. I've had some incredible opportunities, and I know it. I've got more than most. I have lived more than most. I've seen my share of loss, and maybe being at the age I am now and having recently lost my stepfather, having recently moved my mother into assisted living after 5 months in a hospital, a couple strokes, yeah, it puts things into perspective. My family is going to be taken care of. Will I be missed? I'd like to think so. But I have contributed so much through my different life choices to the success of other young people that I've had the opportunity to work with, that I have fostered such growth and change in appreciation for nature through my work in outdoor education and camping. I've left a legacy. There are things I'm leaving behind that will last in those institutions through my different work in different organizations like the YMCA, the challenge course industry, a number of different camps I've worked for, being part of development, training, growth, learning. I have very few regrets, right? Not worth wasting time and energy worrying about. I'm worried about the legacy that I have yet to leave. In order to do that, I have to be a different person. I've got to be there if that's what I want. Because I've had so many other opportunities where life could have been taken away. So, thinking about the physical, mental, emotional, and financial legacy as I move through this next chapter of my life, being outside and sharing what I know, what I believe, what I'm still learning, is part of the reason and focus for me spending time with you. So I can honestly say that I've had a good life, and I'm still living a good life, and I want to keep living a good life, right? Won't die rich, right? I won't die with regrets. I have loved, I've been loved, I have shared, and I'm sharing. And I've had to make some sacrifices, but they've all been for the sake of legacy. And spending time outside is a very strong factor in my physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, financial well-being. So that's why I do it. And there are benefits to doing it intentionally, mindfully, with that scope. So, changes the way I spend my day, changes the way I eat, changes the way I think, and changes the way I feel, because our thoughts become words, and our words become actions, and our actions become habit, and that habit becomes character. So I'm not the man I was yesterday, and I won't be this version of me tomorrow, and that just goes on and on and on. There's only 3 ways I can go: backward, not at all, or forward. So this is me continuing to take steps forward, literally. So please find a way to make outdoor time part of your habit, part of your character. Think about the legacy that you are. Think about the legacy you could be, and make the steps toward that. All right? We are creatures of change. All right? So you can go backward, not at all, but take steps to move forward. So please find the means, find the time to spend more of it outdoors. You need it. You deserve it. Look after yourself so that you can be a better version of you to help look after others. All right? Be of service. Be kind. Be mindful. Be there for a long, long time. Thank you very much for watching. I'll talk to you soon. Thanks. Bye-bye.